son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. I'm your host, Sean Big Poppa Williams. With me, as always, is Jamie Liehr. We are a man short for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 400. We're going to go 267 times around this 1.5 mile track. And because it's me and Liehr, it's a little old school and... All right, man. We've got a lot of racing action to get to this week. Unfortunately, Adrian couldn't be with us because he's celebrating his grandfather's 75th birthday. So we wanted to give a shout out to Grandpa Dial Up himself. Happy 75th birthday, buddy.
Happy 75th, Grandpa Dial Up.
With that said, guys, it is time to get into this week's racing action. And we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 400. So it's only appropriate that I think we kick this off right.
Time for the good stuff. Let's get to this NASCAR action because we are starting off with the 2016 Sprint Cup Chase for the championship this week at Chicagoland Speedway, which is just located outside of Joliet, Illinois, which is southwest of Chicago. As Poppa said, it is a 1.5 mile track, 267 laps. Average number of cautions here is 7.5. Could be a little bit less than that, could be a little bit more, but at least you know that there's definitely going to be a certain amount of cautions here so we can get some restarts and get some passing and people jostling for positions off the start. So Chicagoland's a D-shaped tri-oval track which has 18-degree turns. The track is 55 feet wide. There are multiple groups here at Chicagoland, so it's going to make for some really awesome and fun racing on Sunday. Lots of passing. You know, as far as the track, it's got a low grip as far as the raceway is concerned. But a lot of the guys like to run on the high line here too. So it just depends on where your car is performing the best at. The track's a little bumpy, but you know, it's definitely the most common track that we race here on the Sprint Cup Series. So for these Chase Cup drivers, this is the kind of track that, you know, will definitely make or break you for sure. Interesting fact here is in last year's race, 7 out of the top 10 finishers started later than the 11th starting position, and 3 out of the top 10 finishers started later than 24th. Another crazy thing is there have been only 15 races total here. Only 3 of those winners have started in the top 10. So all the rest of them have started outside the top 10. 5 of those race winners have actually started out of the top 20. So that's 33% of the total winners here at Chicagoland have started outside the top 20. So just some interesting tidbits there for you.
Yeah, if that's the case this weekend without qualifying, there are going to be 12 drivers in the chase that are not very happy. We have only a 10% chance of rain this weekend, and temperatures are expected to be around 78 degrees. So we will be racing Sunday, September 18th at 2:30 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports Network. Now it's time to get into the picks. Liehr, it's time to burn some rubber, baby.
Burn rubber, Chicago Cup style, baby!
Nice work, buddy. And since Adrian can't be here, we're going to go ahead and give you the twofer on the Burning Rubber. My first Burning Rubber pick is Adrian's first Burning Rubber pick that he wanted me to give to you guys this week since he couldn't be here. And that is Kevin Harvick at 10,800. The number 4 car starts in the 4th position. And Adrian wanted me to tell you that he has Harvick winning the chase this year. And honestly, I can't say that I blame him as Harvick's car has been completely dominant as of late. Now, this car wasn't practicing good in practice 1. I don't think that that's going to be a problem. They will get this car dialed in. On this track, he has 2 wins here. He has 8 top 10s and 373 laps led. Kevin Harvick is a beast at this track. He's a beast in current form, and I just don't know that if you want to win a lot of money, you can afford fading him. Liehr, your thoughts, bud?
I mean, how can you not like Kevin Harvick this week? He's just been one of those guys that has been a main staple in most lineups this year. You know, this week he's pretty expensive. He's 10,800. It's the most he's been since the last month or so. And he's kind of on a weird streak, too. I mean, it also, too, depends on the track type. The last 4 weeks, he scored 134 points, 57, 119, and 54. So it's one of those where you're going to get points from the guy, so you're going to have to start him for sure. This is a huge step in the direction for him and that number 4 team, towards that championship, because this is where it basically starts, is this week, for the race to the chase. So they got to make sure that they got their stuff together. And on top of that, he's starting from the 4th position, being there up in the first 4. He's only 6 points behind the leaders as far as positions go. And that all, depends on where they finish, and they get 1 point for every position that they finish, compared to the other people in the chase. But, Harvick's got some really, really sweet history here. I mean, he's got 2 wins, 8 top 5s, and 9 top 10s. He's just one of those guys that you're going to have to own and you're going to have exposure to. I don't know necessarily that I think he's going to win this week. I think he definitely has a good chance of leading some laps. I definitely am going to have some exposure to him.
Car is just too good for what it is, and I understand that he's pricey, but dude, I have to start lineups there. Now, if you're only creating one lineup, I can understand like just fading it in hopes that Harvick doesn't have that day. But if you're creating multiple lineups, at least a couple of those builds need to be built around Harvick, and we've just learned that to be something that you have to do this year in fantasy NASCAR. So with that said, Liehr, who's your first guy to burn some rubber this week?
Well, I'm going to be rolling with my boy, Mr. Martin Truex Jr. Truex just has been the hottest driver in NASCAR, heading into the chase. These last few weeks, he's just been Mr. Dominant overall. He started 6th and finished 3rd last week, but was definitely the dominator in scoring as far as fantasy NASCAR of 136 points. And, the previous week he had the victory at the Southern 500. Like I said, Truex enters the chase as the probably hottest driver in the NASCAR circuit. And this week he's starting from the 6th spot, 6 points behind in the chase. This week he comes to the Chicagoland, to a track that has not really been too kind to him, actually. In 10 races here, he's got 2 top 10s, 0 top 5s, and 0 wins, with only 67 laps led and 2,617 laps ran total. His cost this week is a little high. It's at $10,300. But obviously it's reflective of his streak that he's been on as of late. But due to his history here, I think fantasy players will be, on other drivers. I don't think they're going to have the Martin Truex love, even though that he's been dominant the last few weeks. This track is very similar to Kansas Speedway, which is our home track. And Truex absolutely dominated that track earlier this year. He started on the pole, but still, I think he can make his way through and get up to the front. But listen, I don't care what anybody else really thinks about where he's going to be at. He'll be a major play this week, and he will present major dominator potential for sure. And barring any unforeseen issues with him, Martin will continue to be the man in NASCAR, and I think the other drivers will be chasing. So I definitely think you should play Martin Truex this week. I know, like I said, he doesn't quite have the history here, but just the way that team has been coming together the last few weeks, I think they're going to take that and run it into the chase and just keep it going. And I really see Martin Truex Jr. this year contending for that championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think Truex is a definite contender for the championship, and I love him as a play this week. His price tag at 10-3 might keep people off of him, as well as the fact that his track history. But, dude, anybody that knows his track history knows that Furniture Row Racing and this car have never been where they're at now, and so track history is just thrown to the wayside when you talk about Truex and Furniture Row Racing this year with their JGR partnership. And speaking of JGR partnership, I think that transitions well into my Burning Rubber pick, my second one. This was my original. It should surprise no one. I'm still on the Kyle Busch train, guys. It's 10,500, and because it's chase time, it means you have to saddle up with a driver that you think can contend to win this thing. Remember, they get basically a free pass into next round if they get a win. Kyle Busch is a stud at this track. Last year, he led 121 laps here before he finished 9th because of pit problems. I think Kyle gets it done here, and I love what they're doing with that car. He didn't like his car at all during practice, so they immediately pulled back in, worked on it, came back out, didn't like it, came back in. Like, they are fine-tuning this car to give him a pristine car to run and win this race with. I just love Kyle Busch, and at 10,500, this might be one of those weeks where you get him at low ownership percentage, because after all, he's only had 2 top 5s in his last 17 races, and I think that's all about to change because, honestly, I think Kyle Busch and that M&M's team have been messing around with their free ride into the chase. Your thoughts, Liehr?
I totally agree with you there, man. I think they were just kind of experimenting and going through the motions, waiting to the chase to begin. And here he is. It's the first week of the chase. He's starting from the pole. He's, the top guy in the chase. And he's got one race here at Chicagoland way back in 2008, but where he went 1-1, and he led 165 laps. And if that happens, if that repeats itself this weekend, you're going to have to own him. And I think with him, the way that team and Joe Gibbs has been handling themselves all year long, it's no holds barred anymore. So they're going to go all out and give it everything that they got. They're going to bring their best equipment. They're going to put their best foot forward as a team. I'm right there with you. I'm definitely going to have some exposure to Kyle Busch because you just got to have some exposure to the guy, starting from the pole. But I definitely think he's going to be leading some laps and have some dominator points there. So one of those guys that you're just going to have to own regardless of his price point.
Yeah, and guys, we also are not opposed to running Hamlin out there. Like, he won last year coming from the 23 spot. Carl Edwards doesn't have a track history here, but just the JGR equipment is great. And Kenseth is the man here and is pricey, but has a track history here as well. All those cars should be in consideration. That's just the way NASCAR is this year. And Liehr is about to talk about another guy that is always in contention, as well as his teammate. Liehr, who's your next guy to burn some rubber?
My next guy to burn some rubber is my other guy that I like a lot on the circuit, and that would be Brad Keselowski. He's had a fantastic 2016 season. The number 2 Miller Lite team has accumulated 4 wins this year. He's got 12 top 5s, 17 top 10s, and get this, he's got 0 DNFs this year. Here's the other crazy part, is he and Casey Mears, yes, I did say that. Casey Mears are the only 2 drivers this season to have 0 DNFs on the schedule so far this season.
Yeah, dude, hold on. I have to, Casey Mears has finished tons of races, hundreds of laps down. So that's a little bit, of a misnomer, but I appreciate where your head's at. I just had to.
I'm just going by what the stats tell him.
Fair enough.
As far as the criteria, I'm just going by what they say. Keselowski's got strong history here at Chicagoland. He's got 7 starts. Out of those 7, he's got 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, average start of 15th, average finish of 10th. He will be starting from the 2nd position next to Kyle Busch, as they are the leaders in the chase. He was 4th in today's practice. I think he's going to be up front all day. He's going to lead some laps, and he has some major potential to be a dominator play here. His cost this week is a little high, as normal when you're with the top guys and running with those top guys in fantasy. But his cost is $10,100, which is actually the lowest that it's been in 1 month's time. So, a little bit of savings there on Keselowski this week. But my recommendation definitely is to play Keselowski, have some exposure to him, because I really do think it's going to boil down to Martin Truex or Brad Keselowski with some Kyle Busch in there. I'm not as hot on our Harvick burn rubber. You never know. It could be those guys back to back to back to back. They're all going to be plays this weekend.
I agree with you. I love Kaz. I even don't mind if you want to make the Logano play. Those Penske cars are fast, and they've been competing all year. Clearly, we like a lot of expensive drivers, and unfortunately, qualifying was washed out. This is really frustrating to me because this track, with it being as bumpy as it is, there are always cars that mess up qualifying and would have got left out that would have been easy plays for as fast as their cars are and for place differential. And we just don't have that this week because of qualifying being washed out. A lot of this value plays that we're about to talk about are hinging upon where they're starting at or just the inherent mispricing of DraftKings this week. So,
well, the other thing too, man, is these guys, it's all going to come down to their practice times too. I mean, you have to be tuned in tomorrow when they practice, because that's going to be a huge indicator for you as who's running good and who's not running so good. Take a little bit of history into play into that. But you've got to, be in tune with what's going on with those guys' cars this weekend, because that's going to give you what you need to know for Sunday.
Yep. And to start us off with a little bit of value savings, because you're going to need to find a little bit of value. Adrian wanted me to talk to you about Ryan Blaney. He is $7,100 starting 22nd because of the set field. This isn't a 22nd place car. He is underpriced for his potential here. He's underpriced for what he's been putting up on DraftKings. If you look at his point totals, they're constantly around the 40 to 50 point mark. I think that's just golden for him, and he's going to hit or if not exceed that this week. He is practicing currently as a top 10 car, and Blaney has flirted with being a top 10 car for weeks now. Anytime he qualifies sub-20s, we play him. I think this is the week to play Blaney, and so does Adrian. Liehr, your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I think Blaney is going to be a sneaky play. And here's the other thing that you guys need to be aware of out there is So this is where we start to get into, you've got people that are vying for the chase where you've got other drivers that are just finishing the season. Now, there's going to be those other drivers that are just finishing the season that still want to be competitive. They still want to, get the win because obviously there's prize money and their future hinders on how they finish. They keep racing in NASCAR and keep getting sponsorship. So it's not like these guys are just going to let up and let these chase guys go by them. I mean, we're still going to get really good quality racing here. And as far as Blaney goes, he doesn't have any history here at Chicagoland, but you've got to compare him to other 1.5-mile tracks that we have. And one of them is, like I said before, is our Kansas Speedway. But he's got 3 starts there, and he's got 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s out of those 3 starts. So he definitely likes the 1.5-mile tracks. And to get him at $7,100, just above that $7,000 price point, this is the cheapest he's been in over a month. And like you said, he's usually consistent there with the 40s. Now, granted, in the last 2 months, he has had a couple issues where he did get negative points, but that can happen to anybody. But I think Blaney's definitely a look for a play this weekend for sure.
Well, dude, and his negative points both came out of qualifying in the top 5, right? Like at least one of them did for sure. I'm not afraid of.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of him at 22nd, and I think he's honestly, it's a lock play for me. Like I'm just playing him pretty much everywhere, and if something happens to that car, it's going to be a rough day for me. But I just don't know that I can pass on that at 7,100. Liehr, who do you have for some value this week, buddy?
I'm going to be sticking in the Ford family with Roush Fenway. I'm going to be going with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Obviously, he's 23rd in points, so he's not going to be racing for the chase. But, Stenhouse has been really good in particular races and really bad in others. And they've been performing fairly well the last 4 weeks, which has been nice. But he's had positive place differential in all 4 of those races that he's had over the last month. And even scored a second 4 weeks ago at Bristol. Even though he will not be contending for the chase, he still wants to finish the 2016 campaign strong. This week he comes to a track that's definitely been pretty good to him. He has raced here 3 times. He's got 2 starts in the top 10. Nice positive place differential last year, starting 27th and finishing 18th. His cost is really good too. He's only $6,600. And unlike other tracks, he has finished 99% of his laps here that he's raced here. So Ricky Stenhouse, for me, starting from that 23rd position, he definitely has the potential to get a top 15. And for $6,600, yes, please.
Yeah, dude. My first problem here is I don't know how you said sticking with Ricky and didn't call him Sticky Ricky at all. But yeah, dude, I have no idea how you missed on that opportunity. But no, Stenhouse is an opportunity for you to play this week. Extreme value. I also like the other Roush Fenway cars. They're all in that 20 to 22 range. Basically, like they're grouped together. They all are positive place differential cars for the most part, and they're all cheap. I like all of those guys as plays. I will use them because my next value play is a little bit more expensive than what we're used to, but it's not one of my crazy value plays. It's Jimmie Johnson at 8,800. DraftKings is severely underpriced, Jimmy. This is ridiculous. Not to mention, this car is fast this weekend. And I mean, not just a little fast, like really fast. Because of the preset field, he starts 8th. Through practice 1, he had the fastest car in single lap averages. He had the fastest car in 5 lap averages. And the fastest car in 10 lap averages. His car is just fast, in case you missed that analysis there. I also love that he looked extremely comfortable with his ride and was very happy with how it was driving and with how his team had it set up. His worst finish here in the last 5 races at Chicagoland is 12th. If this is a top 5 car, he is a must-own at 8,800. Oh, by the way, in case I haven't sold you yet, he grades out as the number 2 driver here statistically over the course of his career. The guy's just awesome here, and DraftKings messed this up. Liehr, your thoughts, bud?
Man, Jimmie Johnson.
That is his name.
I know. This guy has got more history in NASCAR, with all of his championships. But they have been faltering, man, and it's been sad to see them go through this streak that they've been going through. How can you not play Jimmie Johnson at $8,800? It's just crazy. Just think back to when we were playing Kevin Harvick and Jimmie Johnson for $10,200 and $10,300 or whatever. Both of them over the $10,000 price point. And now you're getting Jimmie at a severe discount. But it's also warranted, too, because they have just been not performing well at all and getting in wrecks week after week after week. Jimmie's doesn't have a win here in Chicago. You know, he has a significant amount of laps led here. I definitely will be playing some Jimmie Johnson this week just because of his price and, you know, that potential. That's why you've got to have exposure on other drivers too. But you definitely, just for that, just in case if JJ goes off this weekend, you need to have.
Yeah, dude, and we've been hearing for months that Hendrick was saving up for the chase. And is his car just being that dominant in practice one? Is that the indication that Hendrick really was just prepping for the chase? I think we'll know the answer to that after practice two and after happy hour practice. Liehr, give us your last value guy, buddy.
My last value guy is actually truly a value guy. I'm not saying that Poppa's wasn't, but you know, I'm digging deep down into the punts here. But excuse me, I'm going to be going with David Ragan. He's also another interesting play this week. But obviously, David is not in the chase, you know, but has been performing, you know, well for a driver who is consistently under that $6K price point. But this week he's 5,600. He's got some really nice results here at Chicagoland. He's raced here 9 total times with an average start of 25th and average finish of 19th. He has only 2 races in his career where he has not had a positive place differential. He's also, finished 99% of his total laps here, which is 2,392. Play Ragan, you know, this week for some salary relief. He'll also be a good time payoff for your salary. And he's going to be able to give you that opportunity to fit those, you know, Burton Rubber guys that we talked about into lineups with multiple of those guys in the same lineup, because you can do that with somebody that's $5,600. Oh, but by the way, too, another reason to play him is because he is also representing the Ninja Turtles this week. With that into play, he's always representing the Leonardo. David Ragan should be a good play for you. He's starting in 32nd. He was practicing up in the 30, 29 area. So, you know, a couple wrecks happen, this and that happened. You automatically got positive place differential right there for a $5,600 driver. Book it for me all day.
Yeah, dude, his price tag's intriguing, and I love that sweet Leonardo paint scheme that he's in. I also like McDowell, who qualified 30th at 5,200 in the Donatello ride, if you want to pair the turtles together. I also don't mind Castle. He's in another sweet Ninja Turtle ride. Like, there's a lot of those drivers, and honestly, I also like Matt DiBenedetto at qualifying 35th because of the points, even though he's not in a Ninja Turtle ride. We've been over it multiple times. These guys down here are a crapshoot. You have to figure out what ones you're going to get the best place differential out of and which cars actually look the best and which ones have the potential to stay close enough to the lead lap or to get you all those place differential points. And when you hit the right ones, they're huge, especially if you stack the studs together for dominators. With that said, Liehr, isn't it time to start building the lineup? Oh, no, wait, we haven't done going to the garage yet.
Yeah, what are you thinking, man?
I don't know, man.
Over already?
Dude, I'm excited. There's so much goodness. I wanted to build a lineup. But before we get to the goodness, let's talk about some of the awfulness. And I'm going to start us off. I have to take Smoke to the garage. Tony Stewart, 8,100. First of all, he's overpriced. But the main reason why I'm sending him to the garage is it seems apparent that Smoke wants to go out being remembered for his antics and his bad temper instead of going out for being known as a good racer. And unfortunately, I think that's the legacy and the mark he's going to leave on NASCAR. And I don't buy for a second that he's gotten over this beef with Ryan Newman. I expect them to both be in the wall at some point in time. And just like he's literally cost me tens of thousands of dollars the last 2 weeks in NASCAR, I think he's going to cost you lots of money if you roster him. And I'm worried about his antics costing me money, just like he did last week, where it's somebody else that gets caught up into his nonsense. I just want no peace, dude. He's cranky, angry. I don't like it. Liehr, your thoughts?
Yeah, man, it's definitely disappointing. You know, the guy's his last season in NASCAR. The Smoke between the last couple of years has not been quite as confident and just kind of been going through the motions because he just, you know, hadn't been knowing how to feel about himself. And then once he got that win, the road course win, you know, his whole mentality and everything changed. And yeah, he wanted to get in there and get up there for the points. And now he's in the chase. I mean, some of the stunts that he's pulled the last couple of weeks, man, it's just ridiculous. Like, you can't – I know that he's saying that these other drivers, you know, got into it. But that's racing, dude. That is racing at its finest. And you can't just let it get to you and then you get your emotions get the best of you and take out all these other drivers, especially Brian Newman in the last race before the chase for him to possibly get into it. And you take all his chances and his hopes and just throw him out the window just because you're upset that he, you know, tapped you a few times in the corner. Like, that's just racing, man. And Tony Stewart is just one of those guys that I'm right there with you. I think he just would much rather be known as a bully than actually known as a good race car driver. NASCAR, in my opinion, should take action and fine him, and also some points too. So that way he gets the realization that he can't be doing that around the track. It's bigger than Tony Stewart. NASCAR is way bigger than Tony Stewart. But as far as playing him this weekend, I'm not all about Tony Stewart at all. I know he's only 8,100. And he is starting from that 11th position. I can't do it this weekend, man, either.
No, dude, I'm just tired of Tony Stewart being a pissy panda on the racetrack and it messing with other drivers. And, to be honest, you are absolutely right. NASCAR needs to do something about it if he does it during the chase. I'm not just talking about points. I'm talking about suspension if he keeps this antics up. That's 2 weeks in a row he's intentionally caused wrecks. And last week, he piled up half the field and we had to go under a red flag because of his antics. Right. It's just ridiculous.
And the other thing, too, man, is he's starting in that position, the 12th position, but his practice today was around the 20s. So, you're looking at negative place differential there. And even if something happens and gets the best of him, obviously that he has no qualms or anything to wreck other people and just take himself out of the race. So that's going to, take you out of your fantasy. So don't even mess with him this week.
Couldn't agree more, man. All right, Liehr, who are you sending to the garage this week, buddy?
I'm going to stay in that Stewart Haas family there because the only positive one is Kevin Harvick. I know Danica had a nice finish last weekend, so congrats to her. But I'm going to be going with the number 41, and that would be Kurt Busch.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. Is this you going all Rain Man on us? I think so, dude. I'm going to have some words to say on this, but go ahead and explain yourself on the Kurt Busch play.
Kurt Busch, he's starting in that 12th position in the chase, but he's had an amazing 16 season. I will give him that. He's got 20 top 10s in 28 races this year, that's just amazing. He starts the chase, like I said, from the 12th, so 12 points behind his brother Kyle and Keselowski. Kurt's actually done very well here at Chicagoland. 15 total races. He started 10 of those and finished in the top 10. Average start here is 19th with an average finish of 15th. His cost this week is $9,000, which is up from the past few weeks. In 2 of the last 4 weeks, he has put up 2 out of the last 4 weeks, so he's put up negative points. I don't know. They don't have the momentum going into this race here at Chicago. As far as that goes, I don't see them performing well this weekend. There's other drivers that I like for that top end money, and I would much rather spend up to spend on those other drivers than to come down and spend $9,000 for Kurt Busch. So it's not necessarily that I don't like Kurt Busch because of his history here, because he obviously has good history. It's the other fact of the money part of it. And on top of that, he just hasn't been doing very well over the last month. So that's why I'm off of him this week.
Yeah, no, dude. Okay, so I'm torn because I want to tear into you of why I hate this, why I hate this going to the garage pick. But at the same time, he was already having a drive shaft issue that they had to swap out on the car. But then the car got better and his practice speeds improved. So there is some reasons why that in his current form. I understand why you wouldn't want to be on them, but once again, their current form was based on a factor that they really had nothing to lose. There was no reason for them to play it safe or to actively try to win races other than to continue along their sponsorship. The problem I have with fading him is in his last 3 races here, his worst finish is 8th, bro. He's been positive place differential in all of the races, and he's starting 12th. So out of the chase cars, he's got one of the best possible place differential plays. I'm just worried this is you trying to be too Rain Man and too cute on this play, and 9,000's cheap still for him. I know it's not the 8,800 it was, but man, I will be playing Kurt Busch, dude. The track history just tells me to. Now, I'll fade him a couple of times, but I'm definitely not sending him to the garage.
I mean, that's your own humble opinion, and, I support you 100%. But when it comes to his money, I would much rather spend up and then spend below him than spend in the middle with the guys this week. So I'm going to go dominators, and fill in guys, pump plays, versus some other people's strategy this week is going to be middle tier guys, like the Kyle Larsons and, Kurt Busch's and Chase Elliott's and, all those type of guys there in the middle between that $8,000 price point and the $10,000 price point.
I think you're absolutely right in your read there, and I think that's how most people are going to function this week. as well as they're going to try to group in that middle. That's kind of what they do. Nobody likes to pay up in NASCAR. Now, guys, we've got the Go Into the Garage segment out of the way. It is time for our favorite segment, something we're really proud of. This is where we build a lineup in the lug nut on DraftKings. It's the $5 contest. You can compete against this lineup. Now, remember, we're not giving you this lineup for the purposes of you copying it or using it. It's to show you the process that we go through in creating a lineup. So, Liehr, with that said, who do we want to start this lineup off with? You just want to saddle Truex on there?
I say let's ride the saddle, buddy.
All right. So, I think it's a good point to show people why we have both Truex and Kyle Busch dominating this race, right? So let's show them a little Team JGR build, and we'll put both of those guys. That leaves 7,300 per driver remaining. Where would you go next, Liehr?
I would obviously to get a little bit of salary relief. I would reach down and grab a driver, but I'd probably look anywhere from that $5,500 range to the $7,000 range. And if I had my choice of any of those drivers, honestly, I would probably go with Ricky Stenhouse. That was one of my value plays, or the David Ragan play. Somebody down in that area down there, so we can get some more salary and grab some of those higher tier guys.
Fair enough. Let's go ahead and just for illustrative purposes, we'll throw Ragan on the team, and we'll go ahead and use the Blaney play at 7,100 as well. That leaves us 8,250 for the remaining plays.
So Adrian gets some of the love a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, dude. That Blaney play is just the right value play. Like I was making it before he couldn't espouse his own beliefs on the show because of the birthday party. So. All right, so with 8,250 left, we can basically what I'm seeing is you're going to want to spin down again into the 6 range and then buy another dominator is what I'm seeing happening.
Yeah, or you could roll with your JJ play and then whatever salary you got remaining from there, go from there. Those are two areas that you could go with.
No, dude. In my opinion, the play with this lineup is you either go Kurt, Jimmie, or Chase here. Maybe even Austin Dillon if you're expecting something crazy from that Chevy, and then go from there.
Sounds good to me, man.
Let's just throw Jimmie on here to show everybody. That leaves 7,700. So basically, you have Ryan Newman on down. I wouldn't touch Newman this week. That's just me.
Yeah. Not going to play Casey Kane.
No.
Greg Biffle is an interesting play.
Mm-hmm.
He's shown up. I felt so bad because I had Biffle all over the places. I think you did too.
Oh, yeah.
But just got screwed last week on the last lap. Otherwise, he was going to have an awesome fantasy day.
Oh, yeah.
But he's starting from the 24th position. And then, you've got
Dude, I think
my boy, the truth, Chris Buescher in the 34, who made the chase. Congrats, Buescher. But a little high for my 11 this week.
Yeah, bro. I love Buescher and I wish him the best, but that spells negative place differential ever I've seen one.
This week, actually, I know the one show that we had, and he was starting that high and the 12th spot, and you guys were like, no, and I was all about him. I'm right there with you this week. I don't feel the love this week for Buescher. That's just too high for this type of track for me to like him.
But I am all about your Biffle play, because I've been about it all year. I think Biffle rounds out that lineup nicely, at least 400 on the board, and you will be able to see this lineup in the $5 10K lug nut on DraftKings. That is Truex, Kyle Busch, David Ragan, Ryan Blaney, Jimmie Johnson, and the Biff himself. So, Liehr, that wraps up another episode of the Rubbin' His Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. And Liehr, say your goodbyes, bud.
Well, guys, thank you again for watching the show every single week. We appreciate the viewership. We're doing it here for you guys. We're doing it because we love it. We love fantasy NASCAR. Sick beat last week, man. Just real quick, I was out to dinner with the fiance and the kid, and looking at my lineup, and I was making all this money, and then as soon as Menard went out, it went.
Yeah.
But this week. Look for something better, and it's going to be competing with football, so I'll definitely be watching back and forth between the race and football. But get your lineups in there, kids, because this is going to be a good week for you to play some fantasy NASCAR.
This is what multiple TVs were made for. You wanted the NASCAR race on one TV, NFL on the other, and Red Zone on another. If you have those three things going, you're going to be in heaven this week. Guys, let's make some money. Let's actually do it. Let's finish out making the money instead of just winning a lot of money until the last couple laps of the race. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a great one. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Raphael says bye as well.